Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So Wednesday means it's Wild Card Wednesday here in Instant Deck Tech land, and we have a super spicy standard list to check out today. This is Blue-Green Crush from Marcus Vasquez, who recently took it to a top 8 finish, so congrats to Marcus on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break down Blue-Green Crush. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Blue-Green Crush is in some ways a revival on a standard archetype that was popular like a year ago. Before Den Protector, that was one of the key cards, rotated out of standard. People were actually crushing their way through standard tournaments to some success. So this is kind of an update for our current Amonkhet standard format, and it's super sweet. So we start off with a bunch of ramp, and one of the key things of Crush decks is you gotta have a ton of mana. This deck, the goal is to get to at least 11 mana, maybe 12 mana, and then we get to go through a super powerful loop. So Druid of the Cowl, Naga Vitalist, get the ramping started, gets us up to Kiora, Master of Depths, which might not look like a ramp card, but actually it is. The +1 untaps a Druid of the Cowl or a Naga Vitalist, and it untaps a land, so it's actually +2 mana. We can also take it down, and there is some value to getting cards in our graveyard in this deck. And then, of course, if we ever get the emblem, which takes a long time, but it's pretty game winning, we get a bunch of octopuses and kill a bunch of our opponent's stuff. Hopefully they just win the game. And these cards get us to Oblivion Sower. So kind of the curve of this deck, we're looking to go on turn 2, Druid of the Cowl, on turn 3, Kiora, which gets us on turn 4 to Oblivion Sower, hopefully stealing a bunch of lands from our opponent. And then when we untap, hopefully we'll have enough mana that we can start going into the Crush loop. So kind of the end game of this deck is the synergy of Greenwarden of Murasa and Crush of Tentacles. So the plan here is we can play our Greenwarden, maybe get back a Crush of Tentacles that we milled with our Kiora, or we can just have it in our hand. But the idea is we will, in the end, be playing a Crush of Tentacles every turn, which will bounce the Greenwarden back to our hand, which we can then recast to get the Crush of Tentacles back from our graveyard, which of course triggers Surge, so we can again cast Crush of Tentacles. So basically every turn we get to Crush of Tentacles. And the idea is, since we have so much mana, eventually we'll get advantage out of this and be able to win the game. We also have Oath of Nissa, which works really well with the plan because we get to bounce it back to our hand. It's 1 mana to trigger the Surge on Crush of Tentacles, which is helpful if we're crushing without Greenwarden, just to kind of stall out the game while we're ramping. So remember too, we're also bouncing our Oblivion Sower, so we're slowly exiling away our opponent's library with the Oblivion Sower, stealing more and more lands, getting us more and more mana as we're crushing every single turn. Oath of Nissa digs through our deck to find our Oblivion Sowers, our Greenwardens to get back our Crushes, to keep the loop going. So kind of the end result is we don't even really have to kill our opponent. We can just exile away their deck with Oblivion Sower, but we can also kill our opponent if we want to. Pull from Tomorrow draws us a ton of cards. If we're getting up to 11, 12, 15 mana, just resolving a pull is often going to win us the game due to the sheer strength of the card advantage it provides. And if that's not enough, we have Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, which is a sweet little wombo combo with our Oblivion Sower. Attack with Ulamog, eat away a bunch of lands, then we can process all those lands onto the battlefield with Oblivion Sower. It's also just a game-ending finisher. If we've learned one thing in the last couple weeks, it's that Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger is about the scariest thing you can face in Standard, and we can cast it from our hand pretty consistently with all the mana we produce. As far as the rest of the main deck, a couple of Anticipates just set things up on the early turns. Then we have a few counters. Censor, we can always cycle it away, gets us some fringe value in the early turns. Negate gives us a way to deal with Aetherworks Marvel. In essence, scatter 4 creatures. In the mana base, Lumbering Falls, Botanical Sanctum, and Woodland Stream give us some dual lands. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods lets us ramp into that 11 mana. It can only be used to cast our Oblivion Sowers or our Ulamogs, but that's fine. It's still 2 mana, and we have plenty of slots for some colorless lands in this deck. Sanctum of Ugin lets us find more Ulamogs when we cast an Ulamog. And then we have some basic lands. In the sideboard, Natural State and Dissenter's Deliverance give us answers to artifacts. Imprisoned in the Moon takes care of a lot of different things, mostly creatures or planeswalkers, but can't even get like a creature land if we have to. Negates, also very important to fight against Aetherworks Marvel. Kind of would like the third, actually, in the sideboard. Bounty of the Luxa and Nissa Steward of Elements give us repeatable advantage for more controlling matchups. If it's going to go long and grindy against, like, blue-red controller or something, sticking one of these can win us the game. Greenwarden of Murasa gets us stuff back from our graveyard, gains us some life against aggro, and then Worldbreaker as another sweet threat. And remember, we have a ton of colorless lands, so we can definitely do some land sacking to get back our Worldbreakers and keep casting them if they get milled by our Kiora or if they die. And that is Blue-Green Crush for Standard, and that's been our Instant Deck Tech for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.